Well, hello, this is Michael Bloom, and welcome to the Caregiving Power Hour. And I'm going to say, because I actually live in southeastern Massachusetts, this is Caregiving Power Hour Blizzard Edition. I'm very grateful to still have electricity and be able to go forward with the Power Hour today. This is the first time that we've done this event via webinar. For the past couple of years, I've run the monthly Caregiving Power Hour via teleseminar or teleclass, and I've decided to bring it to the screen and to come here and just to be live, taking questions for support. But also tonight, I have a very unique presentation that I want to deliver because we are just about at the end of the first month of the year. Where did January go? I don't know. The last couple of days we've been snowed through it, but we're kind of flying through this month. But how to develop a caregiving success plan so caregivers can be ready to thrive in their role throughout the remainder of which there's a lot of 2015 and beyond. So for tonight's presentation, I want to briefly just do a little bit of housekeeping, and then I'm going to welcome my co-host for this evening. First is this may be your very first live streamed event, live webinar, and we're using Google Hangout technology through a platform called Webinar Jam. And I just want you to be aware that with any live technology, and especially now with blizzard conditions going on around me, and a lot of people in the state, I think, are kind of homebound and on the web, our stream may not come through as smoothly as possible, but I've got my fingers crossed that it will. If things freeze up on your end or the sound kind of goes blippy, if you just refresh your browser, 99.9% of the time, that's going to solve the issue. But there could be some other things happening this evening. If we temporarily go off the air, I'll do my best to come back on as quickly as possible. So without further ado, let me just take a moment and welcome my great friend and coaching colleague, Kim Adams. Kim is a grief and loss coach. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring Kim on is that we've done various teleseminars, live presentations, and lately webinars together. And I kind of consider us to be a power team in terms of handling the continuum of care for caregivers, whereas I'm more specialized in supporting caregivers while they're in the midst of the caregiving journey. Kim is really an expert at supporting caregivers after that journey comes to an end. And the reason I know that so well is because she actually supported me as a grief coach after I lost both of my parents. So Kim, I just want to welcome you, and you're welcome to say a few words.
Great. Well, thank you, Michael. It's absolutely an honor to be here to do this. And yes, I'm also in Massachusetts, so grateful that we have power and that we're able to do this live tonight. I think everyone, we're in for a great treat. As Michael said, starting off the year here, being able to get some real solid information and tips about caregiving and the survival kit. And as Michael said, yes, I'm thrilled to be able to support caregivers, also being a past life kind of a professional caregiver as well as a family caregiver to my grandmother in the last days of her life. So I certainly have been in the shoes of a caregiver and continue to support them after the death and passing of a loved one. So as Michael said, we are a tag team here, and I think you're in for a real treat tonight with the information that he's going to deliver. So thanks, Michael. It's my honor to join you here on this new format as well. So thank you.
Well, it's such a great honor and a privilege to have you join us, Kim. So I want you to know, too, for those of you that are here live with us, and I know a number of people let me know because, especially those in the local area, due to the storm, we're not going to be able to make it live today, so you will get, hopefully, a very great replay. And those of you that are here live just a few hours after we are done, our replay will automatically be emailed to you. So you could just sit back, relax, take the information in, and chime in with questions. There is a wonderful chat box to the right of your screen. At any time you have a question or a comment or just want to share, and even if you just want to say hello and where you're from, and perhaps if you're caring for someone who you're caring for, feel free to enter that information in. But otherwise, I just hope that you will take this sacred hour for yourself, and hopefully by the end you will feel a bit of recharge to get into either the rest of your evening or to charge up for your day ahead tomorrow. So Kim, I am about to go to do a screen share so I can pull up my presentation, and I am going to count on you to tell me that you can see the screen, and
Yes, we
I'm
can.
going to go to full view and to confirm for me that you can see the full slide.
Absolutely. Full slide is there.
Fantastic. All right, thanks. So anyway, again, I want to welcome you. I plan to share with you the Caregiving Success Plan, which is 4 key steps to thriving as a caregiver in 2015 and beyond. And I do want to take a moment, especially for whether you are watching this live and taking that time, or if you're taking some time out of your busy schedule, that you are really going forward to taking this time for you. I know, having served in the role as a caregiver, that time is precious. Time is valuable. So the fact that you have committed this time for yourself and to be here just speaks volumes as to taking that step to actually take care of yourself, because we are better caregivers for the people that we love if we take time for ourselves. So this webinar tonight, this first Caregiving Power Hour via webinar, is for you if you're currently serving as a caregiver for a loved one, whether they live direct in your home or you live in their home or not. People are still caregivers even if their loved one lives in another setting. Just because they're not directly living with you, I've heard this misnomer as people have talked to me sometimes and will say, I don't consider myself a caregiver now because my loved one is in assisted living or supported living or nursing home. If you stay involved in your loved one's life and you are an advocate, in my book, you're still a caregiver. This webinar is perfect for you if you're just beginning the journey as a caregiver as a result of the illness, injury, or disability of a loved one. There are tens of millions of people in the United States, some estimates say as many as 65 million people performing some caregiving role for a loved one today. Those numbers continue to grow. People enter the caregiving role very suddenly. I know for me it was very sudden when my father had an unexpected catastrophic heart failure incident. One day he was fine. The next morning he woke up with a heart rate of 25, and boom, I stepped into the caregiving role because my dad was also the primary caregiver for my mom, and my life was never the same. This happens with people giving birth to special needs children, people sustaining a catastrophic or traumatic brain injury as a result of a car accident or a bike accident or a ski accident, our treasured veterans returning with injury from war. Something that may not be known, we've had people serving our country here in the United States in wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and there are currently 1 million veterans, 1 million family caregivers supporting veterans who have been injured as a result of their service. So there are so many caregivers out there. And again, if you are at the beginning of your journey, I commend you for taking the time to be here tonight. This webinar is also for you if you've been providing care for a while and are feeling tired and stressed. I am well acquainted with people who provide support to those with Alzheimer's and dementia. My dad did have vascular dementia. My journey of care supporting him was short, but I know many people and have supported family caregivers who have been providing care to their loved ones for a decade or more. Illnesses and diseases such as Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's disease is not a short journey. It can be a very long journey, and it's vital for caregivers to take care of themselves so they can sustain their role that they provide support to their loved ones. This webinar is also for you if you want to find some good resources for support, but you get lost in the blue ocean of information that's out there and the constant changes in your loved one's needs. So it's easy to get lost and not know where to start. So I'm hoping tonight to share some neat resources for you to help kind of pull some of this together. And finally, this webinar is for you if you're not really sure what to expect, you're just trying this out, but you're open to possibility. I think that's a great place to be, because when we're open to possibilities, that really sets the scene for us to be open to reducing our level of stress and taking better care of ourselves, so again we can sustain our energy. So what are you about to discover tonight? Well, first, the foundation for thriving as a caregiver, even if you currently feel frustrated a lot of the time. This is not unusual because not everybody that we support is easy to support. We all bring unique, we all have a unique.
Michael, your sound has just cut out.
Frustrated a lot of the time. So we're going to talk about how to get to thrive through that instead of just surviving each day. Then next, you're going to discover an effective process for communicating with other family members and friends so you can get the support you need when you need it. I know so many people out there feel a great level of frustration, especially those that serve in the primary caregiving role, when they feel that other family members do not step up to the plate in ways that they would expect. Kim, are you still able to see my screen?
I am, yes, Michael.
Okay, because I'm seeing a blip for a moment on. Okay, we seem to do okay. I have another laptop going as a viewer. We seem to be good. So sorry about that delay. Just want to make sure. Next, you're about to discover key resources to organize and put necessary documents in place so you can seamlessly care for your loved one and take care of household, medical, and financial obligations. And you're going to discover the greatest caregiving burnout busting strategy that I know to keep you energized to provide the highest quality of support. So before I go on to the next screen, Kim, what do you think of all of that?
Wow, we're getting a lot of information tonight. Excellent resources and great tips. This is phenomenal, Michael. I mean, the value is just incredible. And I think that everyone will take one, if not many more nuggets away. So this is great.
All right,
Super,
so
Michael.
we're going to dig right in. I'm just
Yeah.
going to take a few brief moments because some of you may be seeing me or hearing me for the very first time. And I just want to briefly touch on my own story, if that's the case. I served actually my own road to thriving as a caregiver. That picture that you see there is a picture of my parents, Irving and Bernice, and they're affectionately known as Sunny and Bunny Bloom. This picture I love and treasure because it was actually the last picture that I have of both of my parents about 6 months prior to my dad having that catastrophic heart failure incident. And my dad had been serving as my mom's primary caregiver for 5 years. Now, my mom looks very vibrant and smiley in that picture because she always had a positive attitude. But at that point, she was a 5-year cancer survivor, having survived stage 4B lymphoma. She survived the cancer, but when she went through the other side of chemotherapy and other forms of cancer treatment, she was very weakened, had neuropathy, and really had no balance after treatment. So she needed full physical support with all activities, and my dad actually gladly took that on, and I supported him in a secondary role. My dad, unfortunately, as I said, had this catastrophic heart failure incident in 2009. And he ended up with vascular dementia after we discovered he had a heart rate of 25. And it was a really challenging journey over those months as I stepped into the role to care for both of my parents. To give you a little bit more background, I come from a professional caregiving and administrative role. I spent many years in administrative roles supporting individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So I had a lot of tools in my tool belt at my disposal, which really helped me, especially in my direct care, providing supports to adults with autism, that helped me through providing care to my parents. But one of the things that I did initially was I tried to be Superman and do it all myself, especially as an only child. So those first few years were challenging. After my father passed, I was committed to keeping my mom out of a nursing home. So I sold my home, fully moved in with her, and actually launched my coaching business in 2011. Became a certified professional coach. and started providing coaching services to fellow family caregivers so they could navigate the web of supports and provide, not do it alone, not be Superman or Superwoman, and be successful in caring for the loved ones in a way they could be proud of. And after my mom passed Mother's Day 2012, cancer came back and took her from me. I published my first book, The Accidental Caregiver Survival Guide, in 2013, and I dedicated the book to my parents. And actually, in that 2011 to 2013 time period, and actually my mom passed, is when I started to become very close to Kim, and Kim was very supportive, along with other bereavement supports that I had in getting through those losses. So I'm forever grateful for you, Kim. So as I wanted to say too, it was not always easy. My father's journey with vascular dementia, as I said, was scary and sad. I understand well what people who are supporting a loved one with Alzheimer's or dementia is going through. I tried to do it all. I had very little sleep. For those that have cared in your own home for somebody who has mid-stage Alzheimer's, you know that you get very little sleep. I think I spent days sleeping with one eye open so I could make sure that my dad did not escape me and get out of the house in cold winter days like well, not blizzard like, but cold winter days like we have recently. And I found myself getting very little rest, not taking care of myself. I had significant weight gain. And the interesting thing is that after my father passed, I also put my own health and medical needs on the back burner, did not go see my own doctor for a long period of time. But I did get ill myself a few months after my father passed away, and saw my doctor and found out that I had shingles, which I'm sure came about from all the stress. And after that, my mother's health over the course of those next few years became increasingly fragile. But because I pursued coach certification training and really understood the value of starting to care for myself and add others to my support team, it really made a difference. So that was really the turning point for me. And one of the big things that I did along the way, thanks to working with other coaches, was to develop my own caregiving support plan and a team. And this took me off of what I referred to as caregiver isolation island. In fact, caregiver isolation island is a place, unlike on Survivor, you want to take that torch and run. It's so important that we don't do things on ourselves on an island, because that is the path to exhaustion, overwhelm, and burnout.
Mm.
So after I have my plan, let's talk about a few things that made it so much better. I sought support from others so I could pursue personal and professional goals. And a little later in this webinar, I'm going to show you an online tool that I use to actually be able to reach out to get support from others. All through this journey, even though I sought personal and professional goals, like I started to take better care of myself, I went to coach certification training, went away on retreat weekends, had other friends and family members volunteer, and in some cases I paid for support to stay with my mom so I could get these respite breaks but also develop myself professionally. It's still important to know, and I know, Kim, you knew me through part of this time. Anybody who knew me directly knew that my mom was always my number one priority.
Mm.
And she got the best of me even with my human imperfections. So, and I say that for a reason, because I think one of the biggest things that we can do for ourselves in the journey of care is to realize that we're not superhuman. We are just regular human, although we perform in a superhuman way. And we can make mistakes, and we can say or do things at times that we wish we didn't, but we can always ask for forgiveness. And I know that my mother appreciated each and everything that I did for her, and she was a joy to support. And I would give anything for her to still be here today. But again, I would not do, looking back now, anything differently. And the
Mm.
other thing that I was able to do, thanks to my mother's support, to pursue my personal and professional goals and to be open to accepting support from other people, I was able to support others who were facing similar challenges. So as you can see, it wasn't always easy. I never would have imagined my life moving in a direction of passion, but it did. And so the important thing I want to now close my story with is that you can do this too. Take care of yourself, that is, and develop a caregiving success plan if you have the right help and support. So let's get into the juicy and practical caregiving support plan strategies. We're going to get rolling with this now. So just to check him to make sure we're doing okay still.
Yeah, looks great.
All
I
right.
think, Michael, I just want to interject that I think that you have just laid out a beautiful scenario that applies to so many of our caregivers in terms of the wanting to try and do it all, taking so much on our shoulders. And you clearly saw what the results were, that kind of caregiver isolation island and getting overwhelmed. But the beautiful thing is that you came through that onto the other side, and now you're able to be a tremendous resource to so many people to let them know that they don't have to go down the path that you did, or if they're partway down, that they can take a detour and get the support that's necessary, and really be able to help put the focus on them so that they are in the best possible space, shape, health to be able to then care for their loved one. So, as the caregiver. So, what a beautiful example you are, Michael, of really going through difficulty, coming out on the other side, and now being able to be a great resource. So, that was beautiful. That I love your story, and you're right. Your mom was your number one, focus. I know that, and so it's just beautiful to see what you've done through such a difficult situation. So, I just want to interject that for you.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Kim. And
Yeah.
I think the best thing that we could do is model,
Mm,
what we can expect others to do. The one thing I do want to add to that, although I am a great example of what one could do in honoring and supporting their parents, it's
mm-hmm.
very important for me to share with folks that no two caregiving journeys are the same. So
Right.
I do not expect people to do things exactly the way I do it. So one of the things that I talk about, and we're going to get into these caregiving support plan strategies, is these are strategies for you as a caregiver and your family as a family unit to determine what is best for you and your situation. Every person is unique. Every person you care for is unique, and every family situation is unique. And if you carefully craft a plan, you will determine what's best in your situation. There are no carbon copies. We are all unique, and I think that's what makes the world a beautiful place.
Mm,
So, in moving forward, the first step that I want to share in terms of developing your caregiving success plan is embrace the choice you are making to serve as a caregiver. Embrace the choice. I've heard so many people, and I've seen many blog posts, and I've seen many articles about the fact, and I've talked to people, they feel trapped in their situation. They feel as though they have no choice but to provide that care for their loved one, even if they maybe don't care for that loved one so much. They're in a situation they cannot get out of. So they need to do it or they have to do it. Well, you know what? The bottom line is we don't have to do anything. Now, there may be consequences if we make a different choice. And I just want to share this in terms of this visual. Okay. Choice equals possibilities. Okay. I choose to is so much more energizing and powerful than I have to, or I must, or I should. And I think as caregivers, when we're stressed and we're tired and we're run down and things are kind of scary with what we're doing in terms of supporting our loved ones, we feel like we're in a must or have to situation. And that's very draining. And I started to really grab on to the belief. It really made a difference for me when I woke up in the morning with I choose to language. I choose to do these things to support my mother today, and I choose to do these activities for me. It is so vital to do that because that leads to possibilities. I have to, I must, or I should puts dead ends and traps in your path. So I really want to make that clear and hoping that people feel really empowered by that, because even if you are in a situation where you feel that you don't have a choice, you really do. And where this really comes into play, and I think people really struggle, is the dear people who are out there caring for spouses or partners or parents with a slowly debilitating disease like Alzheimer's. And that there comes a point where perhaps the ability to provide support in one's home becomes greater than what one is able to do comfortably and safely with support, and they struggle with searching for alternative options out of guilt. And this has to do, I think, again, back to choice language. And hoping, again, I'm making this clear, you will have so much more ability. In fact, this is so powerful, Kim. I'm going to come off the screen for a moment. I mean, I'm going to come on the screen because I really want to share this
Mm-hmm.
and come back on. I really want to say this so you see what I mean. Like I said again, I feel so much for people who provide years of support to loved ones. Okay, and it's understandable to have feelings that you feel trapped in your situation or you have to. Again, if you embrace I choose language and with choice equals possibility, search for alternatives. If there's a little voice in your head that's saying perhaps another living situation, whether it be some form of specialized care situation, might be better for my loved one, explore the options. You may never take that option up, but just explore the options. So again, you keep possibilities open. And that will at least make you feel better, because I'll tell you the worst thing that can happen, and I'm going to bring this up too, with why mindset becomes so important in health. I told you a few months after my dad passed, I ended up with shingles. And my health could have deteriorated if I didn't start focusing on my own needs a little bit more. But if I continued in this path of I must or I should or I have this responsibility, it would have been really detrimental. And it would have kept me, again, feeling like I really had no choice. I explored other options for my mom. Okay, we never instituted or put in place her going to a nursing home. In fact, there were a few times along the way that she even asked me point blank if she should go to a nursing home because I would have more of a life, because that's how she felt about me. And I was able to reinforce that and say, absolutely not. I did not want that because I was choosing to be there with her. So if anybody has some reaction to that before I go on to the next step, I can't state this enough. And when I meet with when I coach caregivers individually, or I meet in presentations with larger groups of caregivers, I really try to hammer home that no matter what, you really do have a choice. There could be some consequences. So Kim, do you
Mm.
have any reaction to that? So,
Michael, I think what you're saying, is right on in terms of, when we have choice, possibilities are really, at our disposal. Like you said, if there's the language of I must or I have to, it closes things down. And then we feel even more trapped or even more stressed or even more pressure. But when we have the ability to say, here's some options, here's possibilities, that opens things up tremendously. And as you said beautifully, you know, exploring things does not necessarily mean that we absolutely have to go down that road. But again, you at least have the options. So, yeah, I agree with you 100% around what you just shared.
yeah, I really think this is an important foundation principle to be working with, because to really believe that we have a choice. So I am going to go on. I'm going to go back to our wonderful, hopefully wonderful slides again,
Great.
and get our slideshow started from the current slide. If you could just confirm, Kim, again that you can see.
We can see it. And I would just encourage people to type into the chat any questions or comments. As Michael said, things that he's been sharing. Just we'd love to hear your response and your reaction to things. So great. Okay, Michael, you're
Absolutely.
on.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So the next step in creating a caregiving success plan is get the help you want when you need it. And I know a few of you out there, I mean, you may be one of these people who said, yeah, right. Because I've talked to a lot of siblings, and I'm an only child. I consider that to be both a blessing and a curse. So, uh, The curse was that I at times really felt isolated on that caregiver isolation island when I didn't make a choice to find the supports that were out there that were willing to help me. Okay, they really were there. That was the curse. The blessing was I didn't have any expectations for how others would step up to the plate or potentially let me down because I didn't have siblings to blame who didn't do what exactly I did. So this is really an important point. Get the help you want when you need it. Okay, so I want you, if what I just said makes sense to you, and I know it does because I've seen this story. I've been through this rodeo over and over again of caregivers who talk to me about being so disappointed and so frustrated that they're doing everything for their loved one, and that when they ask for support, it does not come. And then they reach a point where they just give up and they don't ask for the support anymore, and they just go on in this never-ending cycle of disappointment and frustration. Let's talk about how we can overcome that. Okay, here's how to make it happen. And I find this to be successful in just about any caregiving situation. In fact, it's worked in just about every that I've worked in, as part of. And people love this. The first thing to do, especially if you're a primary caregiver, make a list. Just sit down and make a list of all the activities that you do in your caregiving role, whether it be to manage your loved one in terms of keeping them safe and healthy and medicated, meeting all their appointments, everything you do to take care of the household, if they're living in their own home, and you're supporting them, or they're living in your home. So make a list no matter what those activities are. Just keep throwing things on the list. Don't expect that you're going to do it all in one shot. Set a piece of paper down and just brainstorm a list over the course of a few days of everything you do. Okay, then you can categorize it like a menu. Okay, and here are some of the categories that you can use. I like to break things into medical, social, and household. Okay, medical, social, and household, because those tends to be the three areas that are most relevant or are applicable to supporting a loved one in a caregiving relationship. Okay, but you can set up your categories however you want. It needs to make sense to you. So here's the thing to do. I know early on in my caregiving role, when I had both of my parents, I had cousins and friends when I was in Superman mode that asked me, how can I help? What can I do? And when I was in that state of overwhelm and just wanting to do everything myself, being the perfectionist that I have been, and thought it was solely my responsibility as an only child, my answer was, I don't know. When they asked me, what can I do to help? I said, I don't know, or I've got it covered, because I couldn't even take the time in my mind to think about what others could do. What a big change it made when I actually sat down and made a list of all the things that I did. And then when somebody would ask me what they could do, I could share my list. And I have the caregivers I have the privilege of coaching do the same thing. Share your list. When somebody asks the question, let them choose what they want to do from your list. Just like you have a favorite food item you might choose for the menu when you go to the restaurant. Well, somebody is likely to be really successful and provide their best performance when they are able to choose the activity they feel they have the most talent for, the most skill for, and the most passion for. And the fourth component of this is, let's say you're handing this list to family members that you feel have typically not stepped up to the plate. You can let them know what you're doing. And if you want to throw out a thing, you could say, caregiving without regret expert Michael Bloom said that I should develop a task list, responsibility list for everything I do as a caregiver. I've got this list. Do you think there's something on this list perhaps that you might be able to do? And I want to say, too, it's so important that you suggest and not direct. Maybe you know other family members or friends that have specific talents in certain areas. When you are involved in caregiving, not everybody, I'm going to get really deep here. I took care of deep personal hygiene, bathing, toileting issues with both of my parents. Okay, I did that with both of my parents. Not every human being feels capable or comfortable doing that. Okay, and that's okay. And that's okay. So I'm bringing that up as an example because there's so many things that could be done to support a household or a caregiving team that could be really meaningful to the caregiver, and it doesn't even have to be direct support activity to the loved one. You know, you might have family members, that are, maybe don't want to get involved in that direct activity with the caregiver, with the loved one, but maybe they can do some household maintenance thing. Or if your car needs to get an oil change because you haven't had the time because you're running into a whole bunch of appointments, and taking care of things that you haven't had the time to take care of the oil change, well, maybe your brother or your nephew or your niece, I don't want to sound that I'm gender specific here, and who could do an oil change or take a car for an oil change. Maybe some of your other family members could step up and take your car to an oil change. I mean, that's taking something off your plate. That's how you make it happen. But it really all starts with sitting down and taking some time to make a list and keep adding to it over time, categorize it, and share. And I am going to come back off screen again, on screen, I should say, for a moment, just because I want to talk about that for a moment. And that's step 2. We have 2 more steps in the caregiving success plan, but Kim, I just want to get some reaction. I know we have some shy folks here, but again, folks, if you're here, feel free. I know this may be a new format for you to type your thoughts or questions in the comment in the chat. But Kim, what are your thoughts right at the moment about this?
Great, thanks, Michael. Yeah, please type in your questions and your comments. Your thoughts are very valuable to add to the conversation. So, Michael, what struck me is starting with making the list. As you said, when we're asked the question, what do we need? It can be so overwhelming. People, want to be helpful, and if we say, I don't know, or we can't think of something, there's an opportunity that's gone by. So I think that's a beautiful idea to just create the list. And like you said, then people can choose. We're more likely to get someone to help out if they can take a look at a list that we have and to say, oh, well, I can do this, oh, I can do that. Or they also may be able to even say by looking at the list, wow, well, I know that, Aunt Susie can take care of that one because she's really good. Let me ask her. Maybe she'd be interested. Or let me share this with other people. So I think it exponentially can also grow, that you could get more support than maybe you even had anticipated, because there may be some items on your list that other family members and friends may know others that may be interested in doing it. So I think that making the list, getting all the information out of your brain and putting on a piece of paper, and like you said, making the buckets of categories, is just a phenomenal job. So that's great. I think
Okay.
that's excellent.
Okay. Excellent. So, yeah, it's so key. I found this to be a successful strategy. And I tell you, too, don't exclude
Mm,
younger members of your family from participating. If you really want to empower the younger members of your family, or even teenagers, or even older children, it really gives them a feeling of being part of the team, when you actually share some opportunities for them to be supportive of you too. A lot of people sometimes want to shield our kids, and it's understandable with some of the scary parts of illness, but I'm going to throw a little figure out here for you right now. Okay, right now there's 7 younger people in the world to care for, in the United States, to care for each person over the age of 80. 7 younger people to care for each person over the age of 80. By 2030, there'll be 4. By the year 2050, and I think Kim will be in that category if we're still alive, of needing support at that point after
right.
2050. But there'll only be 3 younger people. So the children of today that you see
Wow.
running around the playgrounds and the parks, 1 out of 3 of them is going to be needing to step up to the plate to be a caregiver for a loved one. So what
Mm,
better thing could you be possibly doing for the longevity and well-being of your family than starting to train them now about how to step up to the plate to be of support? So again, you're doing yourself and your family a favor when you do that. I'm going to go back to the slideshow
mm.
again. And I'm sorry for the little bit of difficulty with our transitions here, but technology, the way it normally goes, it's usually seamless, but it's not cooperating with me fully tonight. But I told Kim before we went on the air, I'm going with the
Mhm.
flow. We have power there's 30 some inches of snow on the ground outside of our houses. And I'm going to go with the flow and not anything bother me. So
That's right.
we're in the
Here we
good.
are.
So now you have your list. And I see Tracy, thank you for saying hello from North Andover, Mass. It's so
Yes.
great to have you on the Caregiving Power Hour, so thanks for the hello. The next step of the Caregiving Success Plan is to create and implement a support plan. Create and implement a support plan. I'm going to go for a moment. I actually shared we were in what's called the green room before we came on live. That's the green room is what we call the pre-webinar room where the presenters show up. And I took him to this resource. And if you're watching this, I cannot recommend this resource enough. Lotsofhelpinghands.com. Okay, it's called lotsofhelpinghands.com. It's a free online resource that you can set up an online community to manage all kinds of things, information, sharing all kinds of things with your loved one. So I'm going to actually show you the site in a moment, but here is what you do with sharing your plan, whether you use an online resource or not, and I'm going to show you the resource that's at lotsofhelpinghands.com in a moment. Ask people to join your community of support for your loved one. Ask people to join, whether they be your family members, friends, members of your church or spiritual groups that you're a part of. Share without expectations, meaning if someone does not provide you with contact information or does not seem to feel at this point that they want to step up to the plate, this is probably the toughest thing. Try not to feel that disappointment, because you know what? We're only responsible for the decisions we make ourselves. We're not responsible for the decisions we make with others. And just because somebody declines to help with a certain thing does not necessarily have to do with you. There could be other things going on with them. So the best thing you could do is share without expectations. And the final thing here is get an accountability partner and stay inspired. Get an accountability partner and stay inspired. That could be a coach. That could be a trusted friend. You really want to share with a trusted confidant what you're doing in support of your loved one and how you're taking care of yourself so you can stay inspired to action. I am going to go off the slides for a moment and go to lotsofhelpinghands.com. This is what the website looks like. And just so you can see here, Kim, could you see the website, Lots of Helping Hands?
Yes, absolutely,
Okay, all right.
Michael. Yep.
Okay, so I just want to make sure. So anyway, when you go to lotsofhelpinghands.com, you have the opportunity to sign on for a free account. I'm showing you what it looks like on the inside. I created a new account recently. Just so you know, I call it Bloom's Helping Hands, but a few years ago, this site's been around, I think, for about 5 years or so now, and they keep enhancing and improving it. My mom's nickname, I think I told you at the beginning of this webinar, was Bunny. And I created an online community and Lots of Helping Hands called Bunny's Helpers. And I got family members and friends who were willing to be part of my caregiving support team, my Bunny's Helpers team is what I called it, to be part of this. So when you have your own thing, you can add people. It's as simple as basically you just go to people, add members, and all you have to do is enter their first name, last name, and an email address, and they will become a member of your community. They'll get a link to come in. They'll get notification by email, and you have the option to make certain people community leaders if you choose to. What I recommend to some people that I do coaching with is select another trusted friend or family member to be a co-leader with you. So, and if you have a family member that's more technologically savvy than you, they could be a shared community leader, because there's so many things that you could do on here. You could store vital information about your loved one. Just so you know, too, this is an HTTPS site. It's a secured site. Your information will only be viewed by those that you give access to view. So you can store whatever information you want in here: allergies, doctors, preferred facilities, medications, other contacts. This is a great way to store things centrally to keep track of. But I'm going to tell you my two favorite features. Okay, the first one is the calendar function. With the calendar function, you can actually create events in the calendar And when you create an event, you can ask for what you need. So let's, like here, I populated an event that every Tuesday a ride would be needed to, let's say, a physical therapy appointment. Let's say my mother was still here and went to weekly physical therapy. And if somebody could actually take her to that appointment, that would free me up respite wise to do something else. You can make a standing appointment that's weekly. You can do discrete appointments. You can label them. It's as easy as just create a new activity, identify what it is, create the name, your calendar label, and whatever notes you want to know. Everybody who has become a member of your community will get an email letting them know that this activity has been created. It streamlines communications so somebody can volunteer and sign up to do the activity. It's such a wonderful, wonderful service. And again, this is totally free. My other great thing that I love in Lots of Helping Hands is the announcements area. I can't tell you how great this was for me during the course of my mother's illness. With an announcement, I don't know about you, but if you've supported a loved one who's gone through some serious medical tests and you need to do daily updates and you end up calling a whole bunch of people, that gets very wearing. If people are in your online community, you could type an announcement and just share it with all the members of your community with a click of a button. And if you have somebody else that is a member of your community that, let's say, you talk to a sister or brother that's even long distance from you, that maybe you give them the information, but they could help manage this community, they can enter the information that you provide to them and do the update that will go out to everyone, saving you a whole bunch of phone calls. So I can't stress enough how this is one of my favorite free resources that's out there. So I just want to check in for a moment and see, Kim, are there any questions related to this? Or
Uh, There aren't. I wanted to just say that I have placed that link to lotsofhelpinghands.com on the chat, so if people want to go there directly, I think what a fantastic resource, Michael. And I love the last piece that you shared about being able to share the communication. You know, you type something in once, and the people that are in your community can all get it. You don't have to waste time sending multiple emails or, making phone calls. So I think that's great. That's super. We did have one comment here in the chat from Marion. I don't know who will be my caregiver should the need arise and feel anxiety around that. I think that I can use this approach to devise a plan for myself and feel much better about that. And so I think that's great. I think
that's a really
what you
great that's a
described.
really great thing. And I think, Marion, if you start to devise what are some of the things or start to write out what are some of the things that are important to you should you need care, that's a really good point too. And I'll tell you, I feel like personally can relate to what you're talking about. Oops, I should put myself back on camera, but I could relate to what you're talking about because of the fact that I am an only child, and I currently don't have a partner. I don't have, uh, beneficiaries, shall we say? Direct people to necessarily. I don't have a me in my life as I was to my parents. So I've started to think about that too, and I think it's really important to link up. First of all, make sure all your documents are in place. With healthcare proxies, power of attorneys. There are estate planning attorneys that are out there that can help you draft up documents and actually get an organizational power of attorney and healthcare proxy. If there's nobody in your life, you can point to that and you can specify very clearly what you want. It does involve a little bit of legal stuff, and I can understand the fear around that and hesitancy around that. But my thought to you, it's a great thing that you bring up, and thank you for your courage for bringing that deeply personal thing up. It's just start writing down your thoughts and then reach out to professionals in the aging arena, in the elder support planning arena that can maybe help you craft a plan too. So that's great. I am going to go back to the slides. We have um, one more step to share. So, which is develop your passion and purpose beyond caregiving. Develop your passion and purpose beyond caregiving. So, as many people know, if you're encountering me for the first time, you may not know this, but I mean, you probably do because you would have seen This image is something I've used for the Caregiving Power Hour for a while, and it's my mantra, which is put chocolate in your pillbox. And again, the idea with putting chocolate in your pillbox is when we're in the caregiving role, pillboxes are something we're very familiar with. So constantly filling them with medication, making sure their loved one is dosed regularly so they get the meds they need at the right time, the right dose, the right the right medication. Everything is. And when I was managing both of my parents, I felt like I was constantly staring at pillboxes every couple of hours with the amount of
Mhm.
medications they were both on. So the pillbox is a metaphor for our calendar, because when we're in the caregiving role, our calendar is so filled with appointments, household responsibilities, job responsibilities if we're working outside of the home. It's very rarely filled with things that we enjoy. So the idea is to keep yourself energized through the caregiving journey. It is vital, so important that you take time at least once a week to put something in your calendar that you enjoy and dose yourself regularly. It's important for you to fuel your soul outside of caregiving, so you could continue, so you really avoid the risk of burnout. So that is really something that's vital. So, whoops. And so again, take, if I leave you with anything in this fourth step, put some chocolate in your pillbox. So before we wrap up this evening, and you could, I'm able to stay on a few extra minutes to certainly address questions. I just want to take just a few minutes here to discuss something new that I'm creating that you may want to take advantage of and come and join. So, because I want you as a caregiver to have the best quality of life. You know what? In the time that you're serving, whether it be months or years or even over a decade, you're never going to get this time back. And after my father passed, and I got into just supporting my mother and making a conscious effort to really realize that I can be, I can be, I can put her first, as Kim said, and she vouched for the fact that I did this, and people know that I put her needs and her support first, but I could still do stuff for myself, professionally and personally, so I could thrive. Because the thing is, if you want, when the caregiving journey comes to an end, you want to be able to go on with other aspects of your life. And if you're going to be caregiving, and you also don't want caregiving to take your life prematurely, because 1 out of 5 primary caregivers actually pass away before the loved one they're caring for. And I think that's because they don't do a good enough job meeting their own needs along the way. So this is why I have developed, or in the process of developing, the Caregiving Thrival Kit. And I have a new program that's coming out, and I'm going to share some details about the Thrival Kit now. And just to let you know that this is going to be a first of its kind program. It's going to be launching in the spring, so when we have our first session. But you're going to get to co-create this new support model. I'm bringing in everything that I have in my tool belt, some of which I talked about, how you would develop a caregiving support plan, tools involved, really getting to master a program like lotsofhelpinghands.com if that's helpful for your situation. And what I mean by co-create, the caregivers that want to participate in this journey of this program are going to help create other aspects of the program that will be key features of the program going forward. So that's why I'm talking about I want to co-create it, because it's going to evolve. So here's how it's going to work. There's going to be 4 core modules to start with. The first is, and just to let you know, you'll get all the resources, strategies, and live support via webinars to maximize success with implementing your caregiving expectation agreement. I have a caregiving expectation agreement that I have developed in conjunction with some other caregivers that I find to be very helpful to really set the expectations between caregivers who are supporting loved ones, and there's expectations for both the caregivers and the loved ones that will help them avoid conflict and burnout. And even if your loved one is not cognitive, to understand the components of a caregiving expectation agreement, it's really beneficial for the caregiver, him or herself, because the people we tend to let down the most during the caregiving journey or have disappointment with is ourselves. We tend to not be forgiving for ourselves. And this expectation agreement will actually bring it together. Think of it as like a job, a job description, but not really a description, because caregiving is not a job, it's a lifestyle. It's really something that we feel in our hearts and do, and I think it's so important to put concrete expectations around that as much as possible. The second is to determine your caregiving mission statement and use it as your guidepost. I have found a model that is really helpful for caregivers to figure out how they can bring their own talents and skills into the caregiving role. There are many people that I've had the privilege to work with who are so talented, whether it be artistically, through music, through dance, and through other skills, that when they bring those talents into the lives of their loved ones and their families in a really nice way, they feel good, and it really just drives the energy of the relationship. So we're going to explore how to do that. The next step in the next module will be executing your caregiving support plan so you can get preferred help when you need it. We're going to do a deep dive with a template of how you can create your own customizable caregiving support plan so that you can get the preferred help when you need it and stop feeling frustrated and disappointed with other family members that you may consider to be even deadbeats. I hate to use that term, but I've heard that from some people about deadbeat brothers and sisters, but it doesn't have to be that way. And finally, we're going to go into a deep dive on how you can determine what your special chocolate is, how you're going to go about putting that in your fill box so you get to fuel your soul during the caregiving journey and beyond. And there's going to be live training webinars with each module starting in March. And I will be adding more information and more training modules as we co-create this program together and determine what will best serve you as a caregiver and help you thrive in your role. So I also want to say too, within the people who join the program will have access to a member site where all the recordings of all live sessions will be stored. There's also going to be a great caregiving resource list, which will include such things as lots of helping hands. And I'm also going to be providing some live look over my shoulder training in more depth than I just gave you the preview for, how you can maximize the use of a program like lotsofhelpinghands.com. Some other special bonuses to ensure you get direct live support is that I'm going to be creating a private Facebook group. If you use Facebook group and you feel confident and comfortable joining, you can join that Facebook group and ask questions at any time and get support from me and other fellow community members at times that you may be struggling or just looking for other resources. There's no better support that we can get than getting the support of peers who understand exactly what we're going through, who walk the talk. And I kind of pride myself as being a walk the talk mentor, but I learn each and every day new things from the caregivers that I have the honor and privilege to support, and I hope to bring that energy to a private Facebook group. So again, there will be live webinar sessions that you're going to get to participate in. As a beginning member, there'll be 4 core modules, and going forward, there's going to be monthly group coaching throughout the year. Additional modules and resources are going to be added, and you will have lifetime access to all updates. Now, this sounds like a pretty phenomenal thing that I'm putting together, and you're probably thinking, boy, this is going to have some amazing price tag associated with it. Well, as Kim knows and others who know me well, I'm a very heart-centered, mission-centered person, and I've had many complimentary sessions with caregivers who, due to resource limitations, have struggled to be able to, afford one-on-one private coaching services. And I am not the type of coach or business owner that believes in twisting someone's arm to put them further in debt to get my support. So I wanted my desire to create this program is to have something that's very affordable. So I've created a no-brainer entrance fee that can get you thriving this spring and beyond. And details are at caregivingthrivalkit.com. Eventually, the price is going to go to $197 and beyond. But for people who join up initially before we launch, it is yours today for only $97. This is a one-time fee. This is not a monthly fee or there's no ongoing fee. A one-time payment of $97 will get you into the program. And the other thing I want you to know too, there's really no risk. There's a 100% money back guarantee. We're not going to be starting the program until March, but you're going to have a full 30 days after that first live webinar session, which will most likely be Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. From 30 days after that first session, you can ask for a refund if the program's not for you, and you will get your money back, no questions asked. So again, I want to thank you for your time. I will, if Kim, if you could stay for just a few extra minutes, we could take a few questions. But again, information is at caregivingthrivalkit.com. Would love to have you join this new community and help me co-create the best possible support plan, a support program for caregivers so they can thrive in their role. So this is really an act or a mission of love and support that I have in putting this together. So I am going to come back on screen.
And Michael, if I could just add,
sure.
I have been part of some of Michael's programs, and he is about providing, as he said, he is a heart-centered individual and providing value to individuals that's going to help you to move forward. And this program that I think, Michael, you've just laid out, it just the content alone with the 4 modules and the Facebook group and the monthly Q&A sessions, it's just a tremendous opportunity to get the support if someone is looking for that. And as you say, to really co-create what it is that's going to work best for each individual. So I love this, and I think that, you are a no-fluff guy. This is going to be real content that's going to be valuable, that's going to be co-created together with, caregivers. So, I vouch because I have been through some of your programs, Michael, and I know that the value is just tremendous. So I would just encourage just putting in a little plug that as someone who's experienced it, I think this is a great opportunity that you're providing and an opportunity that you're extending for caregivers to really get the support to move forward as we're embarking on this new year. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. I've been reading. One of the things I did before you were talking, Kim, I was looking over to the side of some of the other comments that are coming in, and I appreciate the comments that I've seen and some of the private comments that have come in too. So thank you so much. Your questions and comments are really encouraging and touching. Kim, thank you so much. I know that you've taken advantage of some of other programs that I've done in the online marketing world, and I am all about over delivering with support, and I wouldn't, and I really am planning to do this. And what I'm excited about this, although I have the foundation and the start to what will be part of each of these modules based on my experience of being a caregiver, but also supporting other caregivers, I'm open to this program evolving. But I want to reward the action takers who come in before we launch, because the idea is they will come in at the best rate because they're willing to take a chance on themselves and to trust in me that we're going to come together to develop something really wonderful that will have the end result of helping you as a caregiver live a better life while you're providing care to your loved one. Because you know what? Your loved ones that you are caring for, they want you to have a good life. We all go into this, we only get the opportunity to go down this path of life once. And I know personally, because over these past years, besides losing both of my parents, as people close to me, and Kim as a grief coach knows, I've actually lost a dozen people close to me in the past 5 years. I've seen a number of people take their last breaths. I know statistically that 1 out of 5 primary caregivers pass away before the loved one that they're caring for. If I can do my part to help you take better care of yourself and get the support and resources that you need, the tools that you need to be more efficient and effective with managing your caregiving responsibilities, to have more energy, and to get a bit of life for yourself, because you know what? You so deserve it. You deserve to have that life because you're not, again, going to get this time back. So whether you go forward and take advantage of participating in the program or not, I am so grateful that you've participated in the first Caregiving Power Hour via webinar and using this new format. And if you're watching the replay, uh, please feel free to reply to an upcoming email or send me a message to let me know how it went for you. If you have any questions about the program, you could certainly email me as well at michael@bloomforcoach.com. I'm actually going to put that in the chat as well, and send me a message. But again, there is no risk if you decide to go forward and join the program. I guarantee that you're going to get value, and if you do not feel the value, you just send an email and we'll refund the money. So again, I don't want anybody to be part of this that's not getting what they need to make a real difference in their life, and your loved one will be better off if you take the time to energize yourself as well. So again, this is great. I'm posting actually not as a sticky note, but just my email in the chat, michael@bloomforcoach.com. And caregivingthrivalkit.com is the link to get information about the program. So Kim, I want to thank you so much for for participating in this first Caregiving Power Hour via webinar. This has been just great, and was wondering if you had any other sort of thoughts or comments before we get ready to wind down.
Mm. Well, thank you, Michael, for having me. This has been great. And Tracy, thank you. Well done. Thank you. That goes to Michael. Yeah. It's just beautiful that we have this opportunity to have this forum, this ability to kind of interact on this new webinar series. So, certainly each month, look forward to seeing Michael with various guests. I'm sure that he'll be having an information. And just again, I just want to share that, Michael is a no fluff guy. So, I took away so many little nuggets as well tonight, just in the presentation and the content. He's about supporting caregivers, Michael. You are a walk the talk kind of guy. So, again, just to reinforce that this program that he has put together, I think has been, it's just going to be invaluable to caregivers to really, number one, get the support that you need so that you can be present for your care partner that you're caring for. So it's been an honor and a privilege, Michael, to be here with you tonight. And yeah, I'm hoping you have a lot of fast action takers to jump on board and get the support that needs moving forward. So thank you.
Well, fantastic. And I want to thank you again. And because you have signed up to participate in this Caregiving Power Hour, you will be notified via email about each and every upcoming Caregiving Power Hour. And you will use the same registration process so you can get a dedicated link to come in and participate in the chat. So again, we are using a new service for the Power Hour, and even with the blizzard, I think we've mainly run well. We had a few technical things that didn't cooperate exactly the way I had hoped, but you know what? I'm warm, I'm safe, I'm in the company of good friends, and this has been pure pleasure and a great way to kick off the Caregiving Power Hour. So wherever you are in watching this, I hope that you've gotten some tremendous value. And if you choose to join the Caregiving Thrival Kit program, I'll look forward to seeing you there come the spring. And even if you have not, I look forward to seeing you at future Caregiving Power Hours and having the honor and privilege to interact with you anywhere that I can. So go forward with energy and care, fellow caregiver, and have yourself a great night.